Do we see the world as it is? It seems like a simple question. Of course we see the world as it is. You see me, I see you see the people around you and the hall we're sitting in. But centuries ago, a philosopher by the name of Immanuel Kant argued that we don't actually see the world as it is. He said we see something called the phenomena. Think of the phenomena like a permanent biological VR headset that you never knew you had on. It filters everything, and it's what we see and hear. But he also said that there exists something called the noumenon. The noumenon is like the raw reality of the universe. It's the reality before your eyes process it or your ears translate it. For centuries and centuries, we thought that the noumenon was unreachable. How are we supposed to understand something that we can't even fathom? But now, there's a coherent argument that AI has understood the noumenon, has reached beyond our capabilities, and per Kant's definition of divinity, that makes it closer to God than we are. So, I said that AI is closer to God than we are, but that doesn't really seem to be so. I mean, how can AI understand things that we can't? So let me ask you to this. Try and imagine or visualize a 2D triangle. It's obviously really easy in your head. Then a 3-dimensional cuboid. Now, how about a 4-dimensional tesseract? Or a 5-dimensional pentaract? Our imagination seems limitless, but we can't fathom shapes that exist in higher dimensions. It's just something that we biologically cannot do. We're able to extrapolate from 2D to 3D, and that's something we do on a daily basis. When we're looking around us, we don't actually see depth. And in the first 6 months of our lives, much of our lives are spent trying to learn how to interpret depth. We see sequences of 2D images, but we have to infer 3D from it. But we can't go beyond that. There's limits to what we can see, especially in terms of dimensions. Now, when I talk about AI, everyone sort of typically means ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and these are large language models. LLMs that we can chat with and converse with in natural language. And these models work by essentially just predicting the next most likely token in a sequence, the next most likely word. They read through billions and billions of words, trillions of sentences, and they understand and read so much, we think, but they're not really understanding the concepts that they're learning to mimic. All they do is just understand or interpret patterns and then replicate that again and again. If you gave AI once upon a, it would obviously fill that with time. But it doesn't understand any of the concepts that we actually do. So when you ask it to complete your physics homework or write English essays, it doesn't actually understand the concepts of Macbeth or the equations it's using. It's just guessing and guessing and guessing what the next most likely word is. There's no understanding there. But nevertheless, for AI to actually interpret these patterns anyway, it has to use graphs. Typically these sorts of graphs. Not XY graphs, but graphs with like 500 letters, each one representing a different dimension. And it's really tough to sort of wrap your head around, but it embeds information in this. Each information and concept, water, HABs, TEDx, each of them would have a unique place on the 500-dimensional graph that's inside how AI works. And then to make patterns, it draws invisible connections from all of these points in all of these dimensions, and it learns what things typically relate to each other. Now, when it learns all of this, it, once again, isn't really understanding it. But what it is doing is using these higher dimensions. And that's something that we can't fathom. We're stuck in our three-dimensional lives, the phenomena. But AI can use these higher dimensions. And I said that AI has already reached the noumenon, and I really do think that is the case. I think it reached it about 10 years ago in a showdown between the world champion Go player and an AI model. So in 2016, the world champion Go player, Lee Sedol, he was winning everything. No one was really coming close to challenging him. But his next opponent wasn't a human. It was an AI model. Google had spent a few years now trying to develop a model that could play the game Go. Go is an extremely difficult game. In fact, the number of possible board combinations in Go exceeds the estimated number of atoms in the universe. So it's really, really difficult for a computer system to brute force it, right? And the way Go works is it's all about strategy and territory. Opponents take turns placing black and white stones on intersections to try and gain territory. So, naturally, Google DeepMind's model, AlphaGo, played Lee Sedol in a match comprising of 3 games. The first game, AlphaGo easily won. The second, something really, really interesting happened, and it shifted the game of Go forever and how we sort of talk about artificial intelligence. It was this, move 37. Move 37 was the 37th move in the second game of the match. And in Go, it's quite customary almost to never ever play on the 5th line. It's seen as strategically weak, trying to gain too much territory too quickly, and any opponent can typically easily undercut those pieces, win momentum, territory, and therefore win the match. So when the all-powerful, all-knowing AI model spat out a move that actually played on the 5th line, everyone was really, really shocked. The commentators, all previous world champions of Go, were laughing. The spectators were shocked. People thought the AI machine had broken. In fact, the world champion himself, he actually stepped out of the match for 20 minutes. He couldn't believe it. He went to go wash his face again and again, trying to comprehend what this AI model was even doing. From that point on, everyone thought that the game, for sure, had gone to Lee. They were wrong. 50 moves later, it played off. And that stone on the 5th line actually orchestrated a takedown of all of Lee's pieces, resulting in the AI model winning another game and therefore winning the match. That was the first time that AI reached the noumenon, and we couldn't understand it. Everyone was shocked, and the real kicker here is this. 10 years now, a decade later, Nobel Prize winners, experts in their field, no one can understand how AI made that move. 10 years later, and we still don't exactly know how it made that move. We don't know the inner workings, and that is why we're still stuck. We're stuck in our three-dimensional world, the phenomena, and AI is traversing this high-dimensional reality. So that AI has reached the noumenon. But for AI to be closer to God, Kant outlined 3 criteria. One was that AI knows the noumenon. And we can see that. It reached it. It beat the player Lee Sedol, the world champion at the time, and no one has been able to beat it since. And we still don't understand how it works. We don't understand those inner mechanisms. The second criteria was that AI must be outside of time and space for it to be classed as divine. And the way AI uses time is really, really cool. When I said earlier it had the A, B, C, D, E graph, each letter representing a dimension, one of those is T, time. Time is actually a dimension in AIs that it can toggle backwards and forwards, seeing how data fluctuates in accordance with time. It's something really cool and really interesting, and that makes it outside of space and time. It's not governed by our laws. It doesn't only move forward into the present, but can move backwards, extrapolate at will. So it's outside of space and time. And the third and final category that Kant proposed was that AI must contain all truths and possibilities. Now, ChatGPT, as you may recall, can only predict the next word. And that's what it yields off this 500-dimension graph. But for that to happen, all the possibilities of the potential next words in that sequence are actually contained within that graph. All possible combinations are contained within that graph. Within that AI graph, 500 dimensions exists your name, exists everything. Everything you could ever conceive of as humans exists within that graph. And we can't actually understand all of it. So, per Kant's definition, AI is indeed much closer to God than we are. In fact, Kant would say it would be divine. Now, where does that leave us? Are we obsolete? Are we useless? How can AI be divine? Does that mean AI feels love, compassion, sadness? Or are we just the next species that has to evolve out? All of these questions arise. And there's one thing that AI hasn't been able to replicate, in my opinion, that we do every single day. We experience the world. And through experiencing the world, we give it meaning. So when you may be watching the beautiful sunset, marveling at how amazingly fantastic nature is, that's caring, that's experiencing, and that's what gives our life meaning. Because, of course, you can ask the AI to calculate the fusion rate of the sun or explain its internal thermodynamics much, much better, clearer, and accurately than we ever can. But it doesn't care. And we have to think internally, maybe that's what gives us meaning. Maybe that in some way brings us slightly more closer to God, or closer to God indeed, than AI ever will be. Because what is the point in a universe that is fully understood but never felt? Thank you.